I still remember the feel of the pen in my hand as I signed the contract that should have changed everything. 5 years of late nights, missed holidays, and blind loyalty poured into one triumphant moment. I shook hands with the client, smiled for the cameras, and 72 hours later, I was escorted out of the building like a criminal. No warning, no explanation. Before we dive in, where are you listening from? And what time is it for you right now? Drop a comment below. I read everyone. I arrived early today. Also, if you're into stories about career betrayals, personal wins, and quiet revenge, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. My name is Jason Merrick. I'm 32, fiercely loyal, quietly competitive, and the kind of guy who'll move mountains for people, even when they don't deserve it. There's a picture of me still floating around on the company's LinkedIn page. Me shaking hands with Daniel Cho, the CEO of Praxis Technologies, after closing the biggest SaaS contract in our firm's history. A $26 million deal over 4 years. I wore my navy suit that day, the one that still smells faintly of bergamot and triumph. My smile in that photo? Genuine. I thought I'd finally made it. 3 days later, I was fired in a 7-minute meeting. Let me back up. I'd spent the better part of 18 months building that relationship with Praxis. Weekly coffee chats, endless product customizations, late-night deck revisions. They were playing hardball with 3 other firms. I put everything on the line for this win. I even vouched for a new back-end feature our devs weren't ready to launch. And yes, I personally got it working before deadline. My boss, Gregory Thames, or as I called him in my head, Emperor Spreadsheet, hadn't supported the pitch. He thought Praxis was a time waster. Too boutique, not scalable. His words, he actually told me to drop them 6 months in. I didn't. I kept at it. Quietly, carefully. After all, I had the numbers. And when we signed, even Gregory couldn't pretend it wasn't massive. He congratulated me in a meeting with the C-suite. Coldly, like it pained him. But then something shifted. 2 days later, I noticed I was locked out of our Salesforce system. I pinged IT. They claimed it was a bug. The next morning, my company card declined at Starbucks. And then, at 10:04 a.m., I got a Slack message. Can you swing by my office? No rush. Gregory. When I walked in, he didn't even look up from his desk. Jason, he said, folding his hands like a disappointed priest. We've been reviewing departmental efficiency. Unfortunately, your role is being eliminated effective today. I blinked. Wait, what? I just signed Praxis. You said... It's not about that, he cut me off. This is a company-wide optimization. We're reducing overlap. I laughed. Actually laughed. I'm the top revenue generator on the team. He paused, then gave the line I'll never forget. Sometimes, Jason, it's not just about numbers, it's about fit. I was stunned into silence. HR came in. A folder was handed to me. They offered 2 weeks severance if I signed an NDA on the spot. I didn't. And as I stood in the parking lot with that folder in my hand, it hit me. Something deeper was going on. This wasn't just a layoff. Someone wanted me gone. And I was going to find out why. I didn't drive home right away. I sat in my car for almost 2 hours, folder unopened, engine off, just staring at the glass tower I had poured my damn life into. Every email, every weekend sacrificed, every time I stayed silent instead of standing up for myself. It was all echoing in my head like some cruel montage. When the fog finally lifted, I opened the folder. Termination without cause. A vague reference to strategic realignment. 2 weeks of severance. Insulting, in exchange for my silence. The NDA was thick. I'm talking 14 pages of legal quicksand. I snapped a photo and sent it to my friend Tasha, a former corporate lawyer, who owed me a favor from back in the day. Her response came 3 minutes later. "Don't sign anything. Call me. This is shady." I drove home, every red light feeling like an insult. I didn't sleep that night, not even close. I stayed up rereading old emails, Slacks, pitch decks, looking for a crack. And somewhere around 4 a.m., I found it. It was a forwarded email thread. I'd CC'd myself months ago when we were negotiating with Praxis, a habit I started after Gregory once forgot approving a proposal and tried to throw me under the bus. This thread showed something important. Gregory had full knowledge of the pitch progression. He'd even green-lit a discounted pilot program, then denied it ever happened during a team meeting 2 months ago. He'd been rewriting history behind my back. The next morning, I met Tasha for coffee. She flipped through the NDA, frowning hard. "They're protecting something. This isn't a standard termination. And you're not just redundant, Jason. You're a liability to someone. I'd bet money on it." I told her about the Praxis deal, about how Gregory had warned me off the client early on. That's when her expression changed. "Let me ask you something," she said. "Did Gregory have any direct involvement in the closing stages of the deal?" I shook my head. He was completely hands-off, barely even acknowledged it. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. "Then I'd also bet money he tried to take credit for it after you landed it. And Praxis shut him down." Something clicked in my chest. That pit in my stomach. The look he gave me after the announcement. The weird silence in the office. It wasn't just politics. It was revenge. He'd tried to claim my win, and when that didn't work, he buried me. I felt my hands shaking. He tanked me because he couldn't control me. Tasha nodded slowly. "This is a textbook power move. But you have leverage, way more than you think. The question is, what do you want to do with it?" I didn't answer right away. I thought about my coworkers, my junior teammate, Ben, who Gregory constantly interrupted. I thought about the ideas Gregory stole, the hours I could never get back. And I thought about Praxis, about what they might say if they knew the guy who brought them in had just been fired. That's when I made my decision. "I want to burn his mask off," I said quietly. "Not with fire, with light." I didn't call Alan. I let the message sit for hours, unread, while I reviewed hiring packages and helped one of our new dev leads troubleshoot a systems bottleneck. But it itched at me, like a splinter under the skin. Finally, I forwarded the message to Amira and Nate, just in case. Nate replied instantly, "Don't call. Make him spell it out. These guys bait with ego. Let him put whatever threat he's hiding in writing." Amira sent a single emoji. Fire. But my gut said Alan wouldn't send another message. No, he'd want control. He was an old-school operator, corporate Machiavelli with a LinkedIn premium account. So I waited. It came 2 days later, a leak. An anonymous tipster sent a PDF to a journalist at Tech Civic Weekly, a well-respected industry rag that loved exposing executive rot. The file contained internal Slack screenshots, meeting recordings, and email exchanges between Alan and several board members. The subject? Eliminating threats to the power structure, Reyes strategy. My name was mentioned 16 times. It was a coordinated takedown. They hadn't fired me for restructuring. They'd removed me because the board felt I had too much client loyalty, too much influence, and, get this, too much employee support. One message literally read, "Landon's got the floor. People follow him. He's not playing politics. It's dangerous." Dangerous for not playing politics. The journalist published the exposé 2 days later under the headline, "Company of the Year Fires Employee of the Year, The Loyalty Paradox in Tech Leadership." It went viral. Fast, LinkedIn exploded. Former coworkers messaged me in droves. Some to apologize, others to say they were leaving too. Clients reached out. Some even tagged the company directly in posts with captions like, "We stand with integrity." Alan resigned within 72 hours. Kelly followed a week later. The board dissolved the strategic accounts division I helped build. Meanwhile, Coratech had to pause new client intake because demand was too high. Amira handed me a whiskey on a Friday and said, "You accidentally started a movement." I took a sip and told her the truth. I just stopped lying to myself about who I was building for. A month later, I got one final email. Subject: From one builder to another. It was from Western Tech's CTO. "We just wanted to thank you, not just for the work, but for showing what real leadership looks like. Keep going." That's when it hit me. What they tried to destroy was never just a job. It was my name, my reputation, my integrity, but you can't fire someone from that. You can only hope they don't come back stronger. Too late, I already did. The email from HR landed at 8:17 a.m. sharp. I was already dressed, navy button down, black jeans, clean-shaven, like I was headed back into battle. The message was short, polite, and corporate in that way that tries very hard not to sound like panic. But I knew what it meant. The memo worked. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. Video call, for documentation purposes. Tasha insisted on joining as my advisor. HR didn't object. I logged on early, heart pounding, throat dry, but my posture was steady. I had evidence, I had leverage, and for the first time, I had clarity. That was the difference. At 10:01, the screen blinked to life. Diane from HR was there, her usually chirpy tone replaced by a tight-lipped professionalism. Next to her sat Thomas Brand, the CFO, and, to my absolute surprise, a third tile joined the call. "Gregory Thames?" He looked irritated, not surprised. Eyes narrowed. Tie slightly askew. Like he'd been called in last minute but still thought he could control the room. I watched his expression shift as he realized Tasha was there too. "Thank you for joining us today," Diane began, voice smooth as marble. "We've received some troubling inconsistencies surrounding your termination, Jason, and we're here to clarify what occurred." I didn't wait. "Let's start with the lie," I said calmly. "Gregory told Praxis I left voluntarily. That's verifiably false. He also attempted to insert himself as the point of contact post-deal, despite having zero involvement in the client relationship. Gregory immediately jumped in. "That's a gross mischaracterization." "No," Tasha said, cool and surgical. "That's a documented fact." She clicked something on her end. A link appeared in the chat. The memo. The email from Daniel. The timeline. The screenshots of Gregory's approvals. Gregory's face paled. "Why wasn't this presented during your termination?" Diane asked quietly. "Because I was never asked," I replied. "I was told my role was being eliminated. I wasn't given the chance to review or refute anything." CFO Brand finally spoke. "Jason, you've been with this company how long?" 7 years. "And in that time, any disciplinary issues?" "None. Quite the opposite. I've led or closed over $80 million in contracts, including the largest one this company has ever signed." He nodded, then turned to Gregory. "What's your explanation here?" Gregory straightened his shoulders. "Jason was insubordinate. He disobeyed direct instructions regarding the Praxis account. I advised reallocating resources." "Because you didn't believe in the client," I cut in. "You told me to drop them." Gregory's voice rose. "And you ignored a directive from your superior." "And you tried to erase me once it succeeded," I snapped. Silence. Then Diane said, "Gregory, we'll need to pause this call briefly." He blinked. Excuse me? This conversation is now part of an internal compliance investigation, she said, suddenly formal. Please disconnect. We'll reach out through proper channels. He hesitated, his mouth tight, then disappeared from the call. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like an hour. Jason, Brand said, we're going to review all this. In the meantime, please know that your severance agreement is being suspended. You'll hear from us within 48 hours. Tasha and I exchanged a look. After the call, I got up from my desk, walked outside, and just stood in the sun for a while. I didn't know what was coming next. Reinstatement, settlement, something else entirely. But I knew one thing for sure. Gregory Thames was no longer untouchable. 47 hours later, my phone rang. It was Diane from HR again. Her voice was warmer this time, but cautious, like someone carefully stepping over glass. Jason, she said, we've completed our preliminary review, and I wanted to speak with you before the board formally responds. Go ahead, I said, leaning back on my couch, heart calm for the first time in days. There's been a significant shift in leadership, she continued. Effective immediately, Gregory Thames has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. I said nothing. Let her keep going. The board has also decided to offer you a reinstatement package. Same title, same compensation, but with a revised reporting structure. You'd report directly to Thomas Brand, not through sales. I let the silence stretch. Tasha's advice was playing in my head. When they panic, you hold the cards. Make them show you the full deck. I appreciate the offer, I said, but I'm not coming back just to sit under a new roof with the same broken foundation. There was a pause. I understand, Diane said. Would you be open to discussing a separation agreement, something more reflective of your value and the circumstances? Now we were talking. Tasha negotiated the hell out of it. They tripled the original severance. No NDA, no gag clause. A signed letter of recommendation co-authored by Brand and the board chair, outlining my contributions to the Praxis deal and my exceptional ethical standards. That was Tasha's term. She fought for it. They signed. But there was one more thing I needed to do. I emailed Daniel Cho. I thanked him, not just for the letter but for the integrity. Most clients would have shrugged and moved on. He hadn't. He replied that same day. You ever want to build something for real? No red tape, no middlemen? Call me. Good people are rare. We don't forget. I read that line 3 times. Good people are rare. It echoed in my chest, drowning out the bitterness. Because the truth is, I didn't want to just win over Gregory. I wanted to grow past him, past all of it. And I was already doing it. A week later, I posted a short update on LinkedIn. No drama, no names, just the facts. After 7 years with my previous company, I've chosen to step away to pursue new opportunities and to stand for something more important than metrics: accountability. If you're building something that values people as much as product, let's talk. I expected a handful of likes. It got 22,000. Hundreds of DMS former colleagues, industry leaders, a few recruiters I'd ignored in the past. Even Ben, my old junior teammate, messaged, "You inspired a lot of us. Just wanted you to know. I quit last week. Starting fresh. Thanks, man." I sat with that one the longest, because in the end, it wasn't just about taking Gregory down. It was about making space for the rest of us to rise. 2 months later, I found myself sitting across from Daniel Cho again. But this time, not in a suit, not in a conference room, just 2 guys at a rooftop bar in Brooklyn, late summer breeze blowing through the city like a sigh of relief. He raised a glass of bourbon. To new beginnings. I clinked mine against his. And to not dying inside a broken system. Daniel chuckled. You know, I wasn't bluffing. That offer still stands? You interested in building something real? I didn't answer right away. Because the truth is, something had changed in me since all this started. Getting fired under false pretenses, digging my way back, watching the golden boy unravel. It wasn't just a fall and rise story. It was a damn awakening. And I was done living someone else's dream. So I started my own. 3 weeks later, I quietly filed the paperwork for TracePath Consulting, a boutique firm specializing in ethical growth strategy for tech startups. No bloat, no sleazy politics, just real solutions from people who knew what it meant to earn a win. Daniel became my first client. Praxis gave me a 6-month contract to help them scale. By the end of Q1, I had 5 more clients and 2 full-time hires, both former colleagues who, like Ben, walked away from the noise to chase something cleaner. One of them, Tasha, left corporate law, became my co-founder. We run lean. We say no more than we say yes. And somehow clients keep finding us. Maybe it's word of mouth. Maybe it's that people are tired of the Gregorys of the world, the smooth talkers with empty hands. Or maybe it's because truth still has a pulse. Last I heard, Gregory was on sabbatical. Word got around. Praxis didn't renew. Neither did 2 other clients he tried to poach. He's not gone, exactly. Guys like him rarely are. But the glow dimmed. His name stopped opening doors. And eventually, I stopped caring. That's what no one tells you about revenge. It feels good for a second. But growth? That's what lasts. One of my favorite moments came from Ben, 6 months in. We were walking out of a client pitch, and he turned to me, eyes wide. "Dude, this is actually fun. Work doesn't feel like suffocating anymore." I smiled deeply. Because for the first time in a long time, neither did I.